All right, today we're diving into a really powerful conversation about what it actually takes to make it as an entrepreneur in Mexico. We've got insights from two heavyweights, former President Vicente Fox and business titan Arturo Elías Ayub. Let's jump right in. So, you probably know Arturo Elías Ayub from Shark Tank, right? Famous for his sharp business mind. But get this, his real reason for being on that show wasn't what you think. It wasn't about cutting checks for a few lucky startups. Nope. His mission was way, way bigger. It was about lighting a fire under millions of young people watching at home, making them believe, hey, I can do that too. I can build something. And that right there, that idea of a bigger purpose, that brings us perfectly to our first point, the spark. This is all about the why. You know, that deep down motivation that gets an entrepreneur out of bed in the morning, and it's almost never just about the money. I mean, think about the huge cultural shift he was aiming for. He didn't see a TV show with a bunch of pitches, he saw a national classroom. The whole point was to plant a seed, to change the entire conversation, and create a generation that sees building a business as a real, exciting path. The real product wasn't some new gadget. It was a completely new mindset for the country. Okay, so inspiration is great, right? But then reality hits. And that's exactly where the conversation went next, to the very real, very tough hurdles that entrepreneurs in Mexico are up against every single day. Ayub and Fox basically boiled it down to two massive roadblocks. First, getting money. It's just tough. It's not like in the US where venture capital is flowing freely. And second, the bureaucracy. Oh man, the paperwork. It's like a maze designed to make you give up before you even get started. And to really paint a picture of this, President Fox talks about a trip he took to Austin, Texas. And wow, the difference is night and day. In Austin, you've got everything you need in one place. The money, the mentors, the easy paperwork. But in Mexico, you're pretty much on your own, trying to fight your way through this jungle of red tape. The talent is absolutely there, but the system itself just gets in the way. So what's Ayub's big idea to fix this? Honestly, it's so simple, it's radical. He basically says, flip the whole system on its head. Instead of making people ask for permission to start a business, just have them give notice. Just start. If you mess up, if you break a rule, okay, then you face the consequences. But don't kill the idea before it even has a chance to breathe. Okay, so with all those challenges, you might be thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? And that's exactly what we're getting into next. Think of this as the entrepreneur's toolkit, packed with Ayub's practical, street-smart advice for how to actually succeed. And then Fox asks this killer question. He says, Arturo, imagine you lose it all. You're at absolute zero. What's your first move? And Ayub's answer, it's not what you'd expect. No fancy tech, no billion-dollar vision. It's way, way more fundamental than that. His answer? Just commerce. Good old-fashioned buying and selling. First, he says, you learn how to buy well. His dad taught him that a good buy practically sells itself. Second, use that skill to get a small line of credit from a supplier. And third, and this is the big one, you always, always honor your word. You pay them back on time every single time. And this really gets to the core of his philosophy. Ayub is crystal clear. Your word, your reputation, that's your single most valuable asset, period. It's worth more than cash in the bank, because if people trust you, they will back you. They'll give you more merchandise, bigger credit lines, more opportunities. That trust, that's the real fuel that lets a tiny venture grow into something huge. But he also throws out a huge warning sign here. He sees so many young entrepreneurs today who want everything to happen fast and big. And he says that's a trap. Real success is a long game. It takes patience. You have to let a business mature, find its footing, and grow. There are just no shortcuts. All right, now for a really interesting part of their discussion. We live in this world that's obsessed with startups and being an entrepreneur. But is that really the only way to have a successful career? Well, they dive right into that question. And Ayub pushes back hard against what he calls the snake oil salesman of entrepreneurship. You know, the gurus who claim you're a failure if you don't start your own company. He passionately argues that that's just not true. Society desperately needs skilled professionals, great doctors, brilliant lawyers, amazing architects who thrive inside existing organizations. So you've really got these two equally valid paths. On one hand, you have the entrepreneur who builds from scratch and takes on all the personal risk. But then you have the intrapreneur, the professional who innovates from inside a company, using its resources to make a massive impact. One isn't better than the other. They're just different. And let's be real, growing within a company has some serious advantages. I mean, both Ayub and Fox themselves rose through the ranks at Telmex and Coca-Cola. They talk about getting access to incredible training, mentorship from seasoned leaders, and the stability that lets you focus on your own growth without worrying about making payroll every 2 weeks. And the scale of the impact you can have, it's just staggering. Ayub mentions that his business group directly employs hundreds of thousands of people, but indirectly, through their whole network of suppliers and partners, they support around 2 million jobs. That's the power of a large established company. This all brings us to our final and maybe the most important theme of their entire conversation. And it all boils down to one non-negotiable thing. Continuous learning and education are the absolute key to the future. Ayub puts it this way. If he were president, he'd pour the largest part of the country's budget into one thing, and one thing only: education. He believes it's the single most powerful lever you can pull to completely change a nation's destiny, because an educated, knowledgeable population is what drives everything forward. And this isn't just some theory for him, he's actually doing it. His foundation runs a platform called aprende.org, and the numbers are just mind-blowing. It is completely free. It has 20 million active users, and you can learn everything on there from primary school basics to getting certified in over 400 different trades like plumbing or computer programming. And if you want to see this philosophy in action, check this out. At the telephone company Telmex, they made this massive push to educate their workforce. The average education level of their union workers went from just 6 years, that's basically elementary school, all the way up to 14 and a half years. That's equivalent to a university education. And the result? Better, more decisive, more capable workers. So, looking ahead, what's the next frontier? Well, both of them are completely fascinated by artificial intelligence. They don't just see AI as another tool, they see it as a total revolution in education. Imagine a personal mentor for every single person on the planet, one that can adapt to exactly how you learn. That's the future they're talking about. But education for what purpose? Just to make more money? And this is where Fox shares this incredibly powerful story. 10 years after he graduated, his class had a reunion, and everyone was showing off their success. But then their favorite teacher, a Jesuit priest, stood up and told them all, "I failed." Why? Because he said, "I never intended to teach you just to make money. I wanted to teach you to have a purpose." And that's really the perfect place to leave it. This conversation leaves us with a profound thought. We're living in an age where tools like AI and free platforms are making knowledge available to literally everyone. The old barriers are crumbling. So the final question isn't about the system or the government. It's a personal one for every single one of us. What's stopping you?